Hi friends, I'm Yakuta Karkhanawala. Today we are going to see the third type of if statement, that is nested if statement. Nested if statement means an if statement within a body of another if statement is known as nested if. It is basically used for checking multiple conditions. If you want to check more than one conditions, then you can go for nested if statement. Let's understand this with a diagram. First, you check the condition 1. See, I've used a symbol rhombus for checking for the condition. So, I'm checking for one condition, that is if condition 1. The output would be either true or it would be either false. So, if the condition is true, then I'll check for the new condition, that is if condition 2. Again, I may have two output. One would be either true or false. If condition 2 is true, then statement 1 is executed. It can be any statement like any arithmetic operations, or you can have an input output statements and so on. So if the condition 2 is true, then statement 1 is executed. If the condition 2 is false, then statement 2 is executed. Now we'll come back to this conditions. Condition 1. If condition 1 is false, then statement 3 would be executed. So here in this diagram we can see that we are checking different condition. First is condition 1 and condition 2. So if condition 1 is true, another condition is checked, and if it is false, will come out of this. So this is known as nested if statement. Checking one condition after another is known as nested if condition. Or how we are going to perform this nesting using C program. So for this, we need to understand the syntax of the nested if statement. What is the syntax of nested if statement? First is if, all in small letters. If in bracket you write down any condition. So I say right now that it is some condition 1. If condition 1 is true, this part will be executed. That is, I'm going to check for another condition here now. So I'm going to put another new if statement within the block of condition 1. So if condition 2 is true, then the statements here would be executed which are placed in this braces. If condition 1 is false, then I'll come out of the if statement. The if condition 1 is known as the outer if, and if condition 2 block is known as the inner if statements. So we have one if statement inside and another if statement. So this complete makes a nested if approach. So they will see the different form of nested if. You have one condition, if test condition 1, if it is true, then this particular if else statement can be executed. You can have simple if also in nested if, or you can have if else statement also. So if the condition 1 is true, then you check for the condition 2. If it is true, then statement 1 is executed. If it is false, then statement 2 is executed. So this condition 2 block is known as my inner if statement, and condition 1 is my outer if statement. If the test condition 1 is false, then I'll come to the else part and I'll execute my statement 3. I have one more statement, that is statement X. When this statement would be executed, it does not depend, since it's completely outside the if else block. So it does not depend on any condition, whether the condition 1 is true or false, or whether the condition 2 is true or false. Statement X will always be executed. So you can write down a nested if in this form also, where we are using if else in a nesting part. There's another one more format of writing nested if statement. If test condition 1 and we have this outer block, if the condition 1 is false, then we'll come to the else part here and we'll execute all the statements within else. If the condition 1 is true, then all the statement within this particular block would be executed. Now what is inside this particular block? Since I want to make it as a nested if, so what I'm going to do is inside this if block, I'm going to write the one more if statement. So this is my one more if statement, that is if test condition 2. If it is true, then statement 1 is executed. If condition 2 is false, then statement 2 is executed. So test condition 2 will only be executed when test condition 1 is true. But if test condition 1 is false, then I'll come to the else part, and inside this I'm having another if else statement. So I'll check for the new condition, that is now it's known as my condition 3. So if condition 3 is true, then statement 3 is executed. If it is false, then statement 4 is executed. So you can see here, I have if else statement if this test condition 1 is true, in that is in the if block, and I have another if else statement in the else block. This part is known as my outer if. This part is known as my inner if. So I have two inner if statements. One when the condition 1 is true and another when the condition 1 is false. We'll summarize this. That is, statement 1 is executed when the condition 1 is true and condition 2 is true. Okay, so both the conditions should be true if you want to evaluate the statement 1. Statement 2 will be evaluated when the condition 1 is true, that is, this one is true and condition 2 is false. So it will come to the else part and execute statement 2. Similarly, this statement, that is statement 3, will be executed if condition 1 is false and condition 3 is true. And statement 4 is executed if condition 1 is false and condition 3 is also false. So we have used different permutation and computation, and depending upon different condition true and false, different either of the statement 1, 2, 3 or 4 will be executed by the compiler. So these are different forms of writing if-else statements. You can use any of the form as per the requirement of the program. Now let's see one program using nested if, very important program, that is finding out the maximum of 3 numbers using nested if statement. Let's understand what would be the logic of this particular program. So since I need to find out maximum of 3 numbers, what I'll do is I'll take 3 numbers in the variable a, b and c in my program. Then I'll check first the condition of first two numbers, that is a and b. So I'll check if a is greater than b, that is my condition 1. If this condition 1 is true, then I'll be checking for the new condition. That is, if a greater than b is true, it means a is the maximum number, b does not come in the picture right now. So now I'll compare a with c. So my condition 2 would be a greater than c. If this condition 2 is true, then A's maximum should be printed, and if it is false, then C's maximum is printed onto the screen. But if C1 is false, it means that B is bigger number than A. So now I'll compare B with C. So my next condition, that is condition 3, would be B greater than C. If B greater than C is true, then B is the maximum number. If it is false, then C is maximum number. So this logic I am going to use for writing my program of maximum of 3 numbers. Again, I'll write down this program for finding maximum of 3 numbers using Dev C++. Let's see how to write down the program, compile it and execute and get the output of this program. So this is my Dev C++. We are going to write down the program to find out maximum of 3 numbers. So I'll enter the comment, that is maximum of program of finding maximum of 3 numbers. This is my comment. First is include the header file #include stdio.h. Then write down the main function, that is void main, and the braces. Now first, the main will have two parts. One is declaration, another is executable part. So in main, first I'll declare the variables which I'm going to use in my program. So in my program, I'll require 3 variables. Say they are all integer values. So A, B and C, and it semicolon. Now I need to input some values inside this A, B, C. So for that, I'll use scanf function. Printf, enter values of A, B and C. This is simple display statement. Now I'll use scanf to input the values inside this A. Since there are 3 variables, so I'm going to write down format specifier thrice. %d, 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 comma. Now the argument list would be 3. The first number would be stored in address of A, the second number would be stored at address of B, and the third number would be stored at address of C, ended with semicolon. So now I have the values of A, B and C. I'll use nested if to find out which is the maximum number. So first, check for the first condition. If A greater than B. If the condition is true, then check for the second condition. if A greater than C. This second condition is also true, then I'll display printf A is maximum number, a simple message. If I want to display the value of A also, then what we'll do is I'll write down, use the format specifier %d, and in my argument list I'll write down A. But if this condition, if A greater than C is false, then I'll come to the else part and I'll display, I'll copy this, write it here. So if A greater than C is false, then my maximum number is C, and in the argument list update to C. So this is nested. A greater than C is a part of A greater than B. There is outer if and inner if. Since there are only one lines, after every condition, I can skip the braces. If A greater than B is false, then else part, I'll check for the new condition. What is my condition? A greater than B is false, means B is bigger number. So now I'll compare B with C. So if B greater than C is true, then which is my maximum number? B is my maximum number, and change the variable to B here. And if it is false, then my C is my maximum number. So this is all about a nested if. I have an outer if, that is if A greater than B, and its corresponding else part. This is the else of A greater than B, and there are two inner if. One is this and another one is of B greater than C. Each if A greater than C has its else part, and if B greater than C has its own else part. So this is the end of my program. Now what we need to do is save the file. For saving the file save, give the name, max is my name of the file. Save the file in with .c extension. After writing the program, we'll compile the program and check for any errors in your program or not. So compile your program. See, there are no errors, no warnings. So now I can run my program. So run. So you can see here, I have the output, a message printed. Enter the values of A, B, and C. See, I enter three values. The three values that I'm going to enter is 3, one is 7, and another is 1. So the first value 3 is stored in A variable, 7 is stored in B variable, and 1 is stored in C variable. So which is the maximum number here in this case? From this we can see that 7 is the maximum number. So I should get that output. And 7 is stored in B. So B, that is 7, is my maximum number, is displayed onto the screen. You can run this multiple times and check for different values A, B, and C. Now this time I'm going to put A as my maximum number. So the value of A is 8. In B I'm going to place 5, and in C I'm placing 2 and enter. So A, that is 10, 8 is maximum number. So I'm getting the correct output. You can run this program for different values of A, B, and C and check your output accordingly. So this was all about nested if statement. We have seen how to write down the program to find out maximum of 3 numbers using nested if. That's all for now. Goodbye. Thank you.